of honor, Chaplain Hartsock, Colonel Net, Sergeant First Class Mendez, honored guests, my fellow veterans, families and friends. Welcome to Fort Benning, and thank you for joining us on this very special occasion. And thanks to the United States Army at Fort Benning for all their support. We come together today on Sacrifice Field to conduct this War Dog Pedestal dedication ceremony, honoring those men and dogs who served in combat to save lives, defend our nation, and preserve our freedom. We pay tribute to their service by dedicating the first 5 in a series of permanent memorial pedestals. These pedestals will eventually completely encircle the magnificent War Dog Memorial behind me, which was dedicated in October of 2000. America's war dogs were trained to save lives by alerting on snipers, booby traps, mines, tunnels, and weapons caches. They warned troops about ambushes. They tracked the enemy. They guarded our troops and bases. War Dog teams prevented over 10,000 casualties in Vietnam alone, and also bravely served our country during World War II and in Korea. They remained steadfast under sometimes impossible conditions. They did the job they were trained to do. Our dogs were alert. They were responsive. They were brave. They asked only for some food, some water, some praise, a pat, a hug, a scratch behind the ear. In return, they gave so much: loyalty, obedience, unconditional love, and they gave their lives. In the words of an unknown writer, he is your friend, your partner, your defender, your dog. You are his light, his love, his leader. He will be yours, faithful and true, to the last beat of his heart. In Vietnam, most of our handlers returned home, yet most of our canine soldiers were declared surplus armaments and were either euthanized or left to unknown fates. Thanks to the efforts of Sergeant First Class Jesse Mendez and private donations from veterans and others, we mark today as a time when we say to all those who have served, human and canine, you were there for us. We appreciate your sacrifices, and we will never forget you. Let us begin. Please rise for the posting of the colors and the playing of our national anthem. Benning Chief of Chaplains, Colonel Richard M. Hartsock, will now deliver the invocation. Colonel Hartsock.
It's a privilege to be with each of you today. Let us bow in prayer. Now, dear God, you have taught us in Scripture that animals play a vital role in many of your providential purposes. Today we pay tribute to war dogs lost in battle. These canines, working side by side with courageous soldiers, save lives and even help to determine outcomes of battles. They help to bring home soldiers who may not have made it otherwise. During intense conflict, these animals sense the importance of loyalty. They sense the love of their masters, and they sense the call to duty that is hard for even the average human being to fully comprehend. And they brought hope and courage to their handlers, provided comfort and companionship to the lonely and wounded. Since many canine teams were trained right here for combat at Fort Benning, we proudly assemble for this annual memorial celebration. And as we dedicate these pedestals today, we honor their contributions, and we honor the noble sacrifices made by every war dog and handler. So may today's ceremony aid in the healing of any of the wounds of these heroic veterans and their loved ones, all who have understood and experienced the trauma of war and suffering. And may the mutual camaraderie experienced today strengthen and encourage all of us who are present. In the name of the Lord we pray. Amen.
Thank you. The War Dog Memorial Pedestals will now be presented. Please welcome United States Army and Vietnam veteran, designer, and lead trainer of the Army Scout Dog training program at Fort Benning during the 1960s, and the individual whose vision and energy helped make these pedestals a reality. Sergeant First Class retired Jesse Mendez.
First of all, say that tomorrow is Mother's Day, and I hope that each and every one of you will give your mother a big hug and big kiss, tell her you love her. October the 8th, the year 2000, was when they dedicated this memorial. Basically, what you would see here would be only this sculpture behind me, a dog and a handler. It was very beautifully sculptured. The sculptor did a very fine job on it. Later that evening, I came out here and I gazed on the magnificent beauty of this sculpture that was presented here, and that was dedicated that day. The following days, 2, 3, 4 days, I came out here and I gazed at it, and I said, something needs to be done. We need to tell the complete story of all of the units, dog, men, that served in combat areas overseas since World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and even today. I consulted quite a number of folks, quite a number of people, and I received much assistance. And if I can just take one moment of your time, I would like to give thanks to many of the folks, many of the people that helped us, or that helped me with advice and assistance. First of all, the commanding general here at Fort Benning that accepted this memorial. I would also like to thank Colonel Biff Haddon, who was with the Chamber of Commerce downtown. I consulted him many times. Colonel Ben Williams, Jr. with the National Infantry Foundation, which gave me much assistance. Colonel Jacob Riley, who was the commander of the 197th Infantry Brigade, and the headquarters detachment Scout Dog was directly under his command. Colonel Arthur H. Baird, Jr., who was the commander of the Dog Training Detachment. Colonel Robert Nett, who I asked for assistance with the pedestal of the Medal of Honor. There has been many donations from various handlers, supporters, and one of the greatest supporters that we have is the German Shepherd Dog Club of Atlanta, Dixie Whitman, with her own personal donations. I certainly want to thank her and many others. On the 8th of April, I was privileged and honored to be included at the signing of a proclamation by the governor of Georgia, which he dedicated today as the Working Dog Memorial Day. Also on the 11th of May, I was privileged and honored to be with the Mayor of Columbus, Bobby Peter, when he dedicated for Columbus Working Military Dog Day. And I also want to thank the Commanding General, General Eaton, for dedicating today on post Military Working Day. With your help, the help of other supporters, the help of your friends, and the help of their friends, we all working together can complete this memorial in front of you here, honoring all of those men, all of the dogs that served so well in many combat areas. One thing I would like to bring to your attention is that we are hoping to place 2 pedestals on this site. We will honor all of the KIAs, dog handlers from World War II, from Korea, from Vietnam, not only the handlers, but also the dogs. I need your help because there are many dog handlers coming out of the woodwork now. They have been silent for many years, but they're starting to come out. I need help, especially from the World War II Scout Dog Platoons. I need to know their KIA of their handlers and the KIA of their dogs so that we can place their names on these pedestals. Once they are cast in bronze, then it'll be just a little too late to add any more names to that. With that, I want to thank you very much. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you, Jesse. Our keynote address will be delivered by an individual whose first command as a young second lieutenant was with the United States Army Scout Dogs. He was active in the formation of 2 new Scout Dog Platoons and trained with his men and dogs at the Scout Dog School here at Fort Benning. He then led his platoon as it deployed to Vietnam in May of 1968 and served in support of the 2nd Brigade of the 101st Airborne Division in I Corps. Please welcome the very first commander of the 47th Infantry Platoon Scout Dog, Stanley C. Stockdale.
That's a long walk. It is really interesting to be back at Fort Benning after such a long time. As I think back, this base was central to much of my Army experience. Going through Officer Candidate School, Jump School, Ranger School, and the Scout Dog Training School right here. Those experiences seem like they took a long time. Of course, years or months simply seem longer when you're young. Now, as many of us here realize, the years are flying by. I deeply appreciate the opportunity to say a few words to honor the military men and their dogs who have courageously served this country. I'm going to use some of the experiences of the 47th Infantry Platoon Scout Dog as examples, but similar experiences exist for each of the dog units that have served and their various teams, whether Scout, Tracker, or Sentry. Think for a moment what these teams did. They were on the front line. Sentry dogs guarded the perimeter of airfields and other compounds. They were the first line of live defense. Tracker dogs were used to follow the trail of an enemy who had gotten away. Again, they were the first in line and the first to make contact. And Scout dogs were used to walk point through the jungles and mountains of Vietnam, not just any time, but when there was a potential serious threat to the infantry unit. When you were in the field, it was better not to be first and not to be last. All of these handlers and their dogs were asked to be first, over and over again. 34 years ago this month, 28 young men and 28 dogs boarded 2 C-141s right here at the Fort Benning airfield and left for Vietnam. You can imagine the thoughts and concerns that crossed various minds as we spent the long hours flying first to Anchorage, then Osaka, and finally Saigon. The dogs made it better from the start. Each of us had an animal to care for, and each of us had an animal totally dedicated to us. Handlers will tell you that their dogs made them more than what they were. After a month in various base camps, the platoon moved up country to join the 2nd Brigade of the 101st Airborne, located near the old imperial city of Hue. Our first mission was on the 14th of July, and in the first 6 months, the Scout Dog teams from the 47th participated in 778 missions, spent 821 days in the field, and were involved with 32 enemy killed in action, 2 enemy wounded in action, and 64 prisoners of war. The dogs were magnificent, whether the shepherds that were used as sentries and scout dogs, or the Labradors that were used as trackers. Scout dogs were trained to detect enemy presence, whether men, tripwires, mines, punji pits, or caches of supplies. Let me use tripwires as an example of the Scout Dog's capability. There were a number of ways that a Scout Dog could detect a tripwire. Depending on how the wind was blowing, they could smell it if it was recently rigged, or they could hear it vibrating. Finally, they were also trained to stop and move back if they felt a tripwire. It was up to the handler to read the way their dog indicated that they had found something. This was called alerting, and the dogs did it in various ways. They might raise their nose in the air, they might chuff, or the hackles on the back of their neck might rise. All of this was done silently. One dog, after being in the field for a while, made the connection that when he alerted on something, it was then followed by something bad. His new alert was to get himself behind his handler. These teams were effective, so much so that the Viet Cong put a special bounty on scout dogs and on handlers. They also did other things, like raising the tripwires so the dogs might walk under them. This was dangerous duty, and these men here today did it again and again. Out of the original 24 dog handlers of the 47th Scout Dog Platoon, 7 men were wounded, and Private First Class Marvin Pierce was killed in action. During that first year, 14 dogs died, either being killed in action or from other causes. Many people have expressed concern as they have learned of the fate of these dogs as the Army eventually scrambled to leave Vietnam. Some were given to the South Vietnamese Army, many were euthanized, and a few came home. I don't want you to feel sorry for these dogs. They had the opportunity to do something special, and they knew it. They spent day after day and hour upon hour with their masters, exactly where they wanted to be. These were working dogs, and they were happy dogs. And because of them, and the endless efforts of Jesse Mendez and others, the military branches now have formal adoption programs for dogs that are being retired from service. Handlers had a special experience and received a special gift from their dogs. Many people here today have dogs and pets, as pets, and know the deep feelings that exist. Imagine the bonds that were developed between these men and their dogs during their year of shared conflict. Remember what these men did, going first through a hostile jungle, not even able to carry their rifle because they were working with their dog. Their lives and the lives of the group behind them were absolutely dependent on the dog's ability to provide early warning by alerting on a noise, movement, or scent, and their own ability to quickly read their dog and the terrain to determine where the threat might be. Even after so many years, it is difficult for handlers to express what their dogs meant to them. As you meet people who served in the infantry in Vietnam, you hear story after story of what these teams did. And you also hear of the unfortunate times when they now wish a dog team had been with them. Uniquely, Scout Dogs was one of the few infantry activities designed to save lives, and they did. It is conservatively estimated that these handlers and their dogs saved more than 10,000 lives in Vietnam. Given that 50,000 lives were lost when all was said and done, these teams had an amazing impact, and we are here today to honor them. I would ask that all handlers here today stand. Let me say welcome home and thank you for a job well done.
We will now unveil and dedicate each of the War Dog Memorial Pedestals. When I call your name, please approach the podium to receive your floral bouquet and then unveil the pedestal and place the flowers as I recite the inscription. After the recitation, please return to the podium. For the World War II Scout Dogs, we welcome the widow of canine handler Richard Zeke Zicka. Richard volunteered for the Army Canine Corps. He trained at Fort Robinson, Nebraska. Scout and attacked sentry duty. He served in the CBI, China, Burma, India, War Dog Detachment. Richard's assignments were in India, Burma, and China as a scout and perimeter guard, patrolling ammo dumps, and as a sentry at airstrips and Signal Corps installations. Richard once wrote, quote, "We take pride in the fact that no patrol led by a dog was ever ambushed, and that no perimeter or installation watched by dogs was ever successfully infiltrated." Please welcome Mrs. Bernie Zicka. World War II pedestal honors the service from 1942 to 1945. In honor of the men and dogs that served and sacrificed so much to save so many lives, organized as Quartermaster War Dog Platoons, redesignated as Scout Dog Infantry Platoons. And all of the units under the Quartermaster War Dog Detachment, 3rd Infantry Division, Quartermaster War Dog Detachment, Southwest Pacific Quartermaster War Dog Detachment, China, Burma, and India are listed on the pedestal. For Scout Dog teams, United States, Korea, we have the pleasure of welcoming an individual who saw action during World War II, was captured during the Battle of the Bulge, and was also a helicopter pilot in World War II. Please welcome the last wartime commander of the 26th Infantry Scout Dog Platoon, Korea, Mr. Leo Suda. Reads as follows. United States Army, Korea, 1951 to 1954, 26th Infantry Scout Dog Platoon. Participated in 7 campaigns with elements of the 2nd Infantry Division, 3rd Infantry Division, 25th Infantry Division, 45th Infantry Division, 1st Marine Division. Conducted 1,540 combat and ambush patrols and reduced the casualties by 60% in their area of operation. Awarded 4 Republic of Korea Presidential Unit Citations and Meritorious Unit Commendation. Decorations include 3 Silver Stars for Gallantry, 6 Bronze Stars B, 35 Bronze Stars Meritorious Service, 15 Purple Hearts. Dedicating the United States Army Scout Dog Platoon's pedestal is a former handler from the 42nd Infantry Platoon Scout Dog who served with his dog Cherokee, Tattoo 38X7, out of Camp Eagle with the 1st Brigade of the 101st Airborne Division from October 1969 to August of 1970. Please welcome Mr. Norm Ream. pedestal reads as follows. 1966 to 1972. Wait, Mark. They never quit on the field of battle. Listed on the pedestals are 22 units, including all of the Scout Dog Platoons, and one Scout Dog Platoon that also had mine and tunnel. In honor and memory of our departed friends, both two-legged and four-legged, Godspeed.